Hello students. So today this is the second lecture of Is Matter Around Us Pure? So we will start with our new definition that is called the elements. So students, what is element? An element is a substance which cannot be split into two or more simpler substances by usual chemical method. Which chemical method? Usual chemical method of applying heat, light or electrical energy. See what is happening. Basically, what element is? Element is that substances which cannot be split into further. For example, I am taking hydrogen element. See, when we applying the usual chemical method, say chemical method I am talking about, say that could be heat, that could be light, and that could be electricity. It cannot be split any further. This hydrogen atom will not be split any further. Same way, man. Let's take the example of oxygen. Even oxygen, if I am talking about the element of oxygen, that also cannot be split, can't be split any further. Okay, but what is happening if I am talking about water, which is made up of hydrogen and oxygen? Say I am talking the example of water, say H2O. If I am applying electricity means this process is called electrolysis. The process is called electrolysis. Okay, so when we do the electrolysis of water, it is getting converted into the hydrogen gas plus oxygen gas. So it split into hydrogen and oxygen. But what is happening when we are talking about hydrogen? When we are applying any of the chemical method like heat, like light, like electricity, that cannot be split any further. It will be not split any further. If it is element, then it will be not split any further. For example, take the example of oxygen. If we are applying the simple, I'm not talking about hydrogen and oxygen, you can take any element, okay, that element will not split any further and give us the simple substances. So element is a substance which cannot be split into two or more simpler substances by usual chemical methods of applying heat, light and electrical energy. Clear? So as we have already discussed the example of hydrogen and oxygen elements, I am talking about element. So you can take any other example. Say I am talking about carbon element. So carbon element, when we applying the simple chemical methods, so that carbon also cannot be split. This is also cannot be split if it is an element. So remember one thing, this is not the matter of hydrogen and oxygen. This is the matter of every element. Fine. So as in the same way, if we take the example of carbon dioxide, so when we applying heat, okay, when we applying electrical energy, it will be split into carbon and oxygen. That will be also split. So that is the reason this is not an element, but that carbon is an element. So further we will also discuss a little difference between element and atom, so that you will be clear what is element and what is atom. Okay. So let's take the example of copper rod. I am taking the pure copper rod. So when we try to magnify the pure copper rod, then we will see the arrangement of copper atoms in such a way. So remember, these all atoms are of same kind. Okay, these are the same kind of atoms. They are not different atoms. So this particular rod, we can say that this is an element. What is this? This is an element. which is made up of so many similar kind of atoms. ठीक है, this is made up of so many similar kind of atoms. So that is the difference between atoms and element. So we will also try to clear. So now take the another example of piece of diamond. Diamond. So this is a piece of, just imagine this is the piece of diamond which is made up of so many similar kind of carbon atoms. Fine, all atoms are same of carbon. Say as I arranged the carbon atom in such a way that, fine. So my question is to you that, is diamond considered to be as an element? क्या diamond को हम element consider करेंगे? The answer is yes, it is an element. The diamond is considered to be as an element of carbon because it is made up of so many similar kind of carbon atom. So that is an element because it is a pure carbon substance I am talking about. So why it is considered to be as an element? So the question arises why the diamond is considered to be as an element. So try to recall the definition of an element. Definition क्या थी कि यदि हम कोई भी यूजुअल मेथड अप्लाई करें तो हम उसे सेपरेट ना कर पाएं किसी और सिंपलर सब्सटेंसेस के अंदर. सो व्हेन वी ट्राई टू सेपरेट दिस डायमंड एटम्स, so you will find only single atom, that is carbon. Apart from carbon you will get nothing. So that is the reason the diamond is considered to be as element because it is made up of similar kind of atom and we just try to separate it, so you will get only single substance, that is carbon, nothing else. So at last you will get atom of carbon, nothing else. So that's why it is considered to be as element of carbon. Fine. In the same way में one another substance is there that is called graphite. They both are the allotropes of carbon. So graphite is also made up of similar kind of atom. किसके similar kinds? Of carbon atom. Fine. Of carbon atom. So in the same way as diamond to be considered as element of carbon, the graphite is also considered to be as element of carbon. So this is also the element of carbon because in graphite you will find only atom of carbon, nothing else. So this is the purest form of carbon. This is also the purest form of carbon. So purity matters in the case of element. Fine. So that's why they all are considered to be as element of carbon. So now we will discuss about the characteristics of element. So the first characteristics is an element cannot be split into two or more simpler substances, as we have already the same thing in the definition part. So my question is, because just complete it. इसको कंप्लीट करिए कि क्या ऐसा क्यों होगा. Yes, you are right, because it is made up of similar kind of atom. ये similar kind of atom से मिलकर बना होगा. So that's why it cannot be split into two or more simpler substances. यदि उसमें एटम ही एक जैसे होंगे तो जब हम उसको ब्रेक करेंगे तो डेफिनेटली हमें वही चीज तो मिलने वाली है, हमें और कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा. सो दैट इज द रीजन. सो दैट इज द फर्स्ट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक. रिमेंबर इट. एन एलिमेंट कैन नॉट बी स्प्लिट इनटू टू और मोर सिंपलर substances. Because what is the reason? Yes, because it is made up of only similar kind of atoms. The second characteristic is this: it is made up of similar kind of atoms. Fine. As we have already discussed, similar kind of atom. So now question arises: similar kind of atoms. The atoms are always similar. How they can be differentiated? It can be differentiated in form of isotopes. So we will study the isotopes in the upcoming chapters. So what are isotopes actually? Isotopes are those substances which are, say I'm talking about the carbon. Carbon has three isotopes, 6, 12, 6, 13 and 6, 14. So these are three isotopes of carbon. So I am talking about only similar kind of atom, means if a substance is made up of only carbon 12, so there are only carbon 12 atoms. Fine. No traces of carbon 13, no traces of carbon 14. So only similar kind of atom would be there. तो वहां पर हमें सिर्फ एक ही तरह के atoms को consider करना है. So that would be only carbon 12 if they are of carbon 12. So these are three, I mean, if only for carbon there are three kind of atoms we are having. So carbon 12, carbon 13 and carbon 14. So we have to consider only single kind of atom. Fine, single kind of atom, either this or this. Fine. So that is the main constituents of element कि जो atoms हैं वो similar kind के होने चाहिए. So यहाँ पर हमें एक clarity मिलती है regarding the element and atom. So atom would be of same kind. Atom हमेशा एक ही तरह के होने चाहिए in case of element. So the next characteristic is every substance in this world is made up of one or more these elements. Yes. So just look around yourself. So you will find n number of things around you and they are made up of either one or more elements only. So let's take the example. Say as we have already discussed about the water. So we can see water is made up of two elements, like one is hydrogen and other one is oxygen. Fine. So more things, let's talk about the sugar. So sugar is this glucose molecule C6H12O6, which is made up of three elements like carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So these elements, so as we have already discussed about the diamond, ठीक है, diamond is made up of only carbon element. So this is the single one, this is the mixing of the elements. So these are the elements which are combined to form so many substances around you. Every substance in this world is made up of by combination of elements or by single element. So even we can correlate these elements with English letters of alphabets. So there are 26 letters in English alphabet. Fine. So with the help of these 26 alphabets, we can arrange in different way to make large number of words. Fine. So like same way, in the same way, elements can combine to form large number of substances. As I told you, every substance in this world is made up of either single or mixing of so many elements. Fine. Like in English alphabets. English alphabets combine to form large number of words and the elements combine to form large number of substances in the same way. Fine. And the next characteristics is very important. Element can be solid, liquid and gases. Fine. So we can take the example of it. Say bromine and mercury also. It is liquid at the room temperature. I am talking about the room temperature. Fine. Say you might be heard about the sodium and potassium. They are solid at room temperature. And the other one is hydrogen and say oxygen, which is gas at the room temperature. So there are different phases of the element we can see all around. So let's sum up the characteristics of elements, as we have discussed four characteristics. So these are, first one is element can be split into two or more simpler substances, as we have discussed in the definition as well, the same part. And the second one is element is made up of one kind of atoms. That is very important, and this make the difference between the atoms and the element. And the third one is every substance in this world is made up of one or more these elements. So as we have already discussed about things, so there are so many things lying around you, and you will see these things are made up of either one or so many elements, by combination of so many elements. So the other one is element can be solid, liquid and gases. These are the forms. Only two elements are there which is liquid at the room temperature, and these are bromine and mercury. Fine. So liquid and the gases, hydrogen, oxygen, there are so many gases, and solid, it's sodium, potassium. Metals are usually found in the solid form. So these are the characteristics, and now we will study about the types of the elements. So element can be divided into three parts. One is metal, second one is non-metal, and third one is metalloids. So one by one we will discuss about the characteristics of metal, properties of metal, non-metal and the metalloids. The metal and non-metal have totally different property from each other. If something is present in the metal, or metal is showing some kind of property, the non-metal just show the opposite property than metals. And the metalloids, metal shows the in-between properties between the metal and the non-metals. Fine. So one by one we will discuss about the metal and then non-metal, and afterwards we will study about the metalloids. So इससे पहले क्या था कि जितने भी हमें एलिमेंट मिलते थे वो हमें अर्थ क्रस्ट के ऊपर मिलते थे, ठीक है. दैट्स वाई दे आर कॉल्ड नेचुरल अकरिंग. बट नाउ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि दो एटम को मिला के उन पर न्यूक्लियर रिएक्शन करवा के हम एक नया एलिमेंट डिस्कवर कर रहे हैं, बना रहे हैं, प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, लैब के अंदर प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं. दैट्स वाई दे आर कॉल्ड आर्टिफिशियल. जितने भी आर्टिफिशियल आज की डेट में डिस्कवर हो रहे हैं वो सभी के सभी रेडियो एक्टिव सब्सटेंस है. सो यू कैन सी इन द पीरियोडिक टेबल, एज यू कैन सी दिस इज द पीरियोडिक टेबल. इस पीरियोडिक टेबल के अंदर आप देख सकते हैं कितने सारे एलिमेंट्स हैं. ऑल एलिमेंट्स आर नॉट, I mean natural elements, still 92, यानी कि यूरेनियम, if you can see the uranium element at the 92nd place. ये यूरेनियम के बाद जितने भी एलिमेंट्स अब तक डिस्कवर हो रहे हैं they all are artificial elements. Fine. So ये artificial elements है. इन artificial elements को हम लैब में प्रिपेयर करते हैं. क्लियर?